everyone, and welcome back to Unit 8, Subway Shooting. So in the preview, we talked about this very scary story out of New York City, where a 62-year-old U.S. Army veteran opened fire in a full subway car. And despite his military training, he did not mortally wound any of the victims.
Mortally.
Mortally.
So they are all still alive, thankfully. And people are kind of wondering why he wasn't able, even though he is a trained Army soldier, or he was, I assume not at 62, but he's a veteran. And they think, perhaps the smoke, so he set up a smoke bomb before he carried out the rest of the attack. So maybe the smoke sort of prevented him from aiming correctly. But other people have theorized that killing them was not actually his intent. So when he ran off to get on the other train and escape, he left behind a bag that contained a hatchet and gasoline.
Wow.
So the other possibilities about what he might have had planned are really not pretty. And it could have been a definitely much worse situation if he hadn't been interrupted. And as unsuccessful as he was because his gun jammed. Again, very fortunate.
Hatchet.
Hatchet.
Not pretty.
Not pretty.
Jam.
Jam.
And, the FBI was already paying attention to this guy, and the subways have police in them, and so it can be, or the article is kind of iffy about whether these kinds of incidents can be prevented, especially in America, where they seem to happen quite frequently, and again, while we're making this video, it happened again quite recently. But what do you think? Do you agree with the article that it's hard to prevent incidents like this, or is there some way?
I think it's incredibly hard because, not necessarily ironically, but interestingly, this happening in New York City, even from connecting from New Jersey or anywhere around there, you're already banned essentially from having a gun. You can't have a firearm on you in the state of New York. You can own rifles, hunting weapons, but they have a different registration. I'm from Texas, and you can...
Different, very different.
Very different. You can walk around with your gun seen by people.
Go to the supermarket with your...
So it's very, very, very different. But even with those measures in place, this still happened. And I think this goes more back to mental issues and why, I think ultimately it's with the accessibility and culture in America, with our history of weapons and also mental issues, this can't be solved or prohibited or protected from at all. That sounds very pessimistic.
A little bit.
But that's my opinion on it. I think that if maybe there had been some more help and mental things to help these people, whether it's, counseling or other measures, since he is, ex-military, probably got veteran benefits of some kind. But knowing people in the military, I do understand within the veteran community, that's already very difficult for mental health issues.
Yeah, it is not.
So, but being 62, maybe played a factor into some of the, luck and fortune of people surviving. We don't know what he had planned. But do you think it's possible to avoid or prohibit this?
So I think that's yes and no.
Okay.
So I think that if somebody is determined to do something, that they probably will.
Yeah.
And I mean, the gun prohibition, that New York does have very strict gun laws, but unless you go around and search every single person in the city, which you can't feasibly do, if you have a small weapon hidden somewhere on your body, nobody is going to know. And police in the subway, again, they have to see something suspicious. And the FBI, they looked into him, but if he hasn't done anything, there's not that much they can do. They can't with all of the people and all of the crazy people and all of the people saying crazy things, they can't, 24/7 watch all of those people, and they can't arrest him if he hasn't done anything yet. And even mental health, you can't necessarily do that without somebody's consent. So somebody has to seek the help themselves. So it can be very difficult. But on the other hand, it doesn't happen in all of the countries in the world, and I personally am very anti-gun. So that is an issue that I don't think America will resolve anytime soon.
Yeah.
But looking at all of the other countries in the world, they have much lower incidence of this kind of event.
Yeah.
And there is, a very simple reason for that.
Yeah, and it's whether it's your kind of perspective is it's only the gun,
I mean, it's obviously not only the gun.
Right. I know
People
that
will
Switzerland
find a way.
per capita has the highest number of guns per person, but their culture is very different. Their mentality is very different. They teach children very different, and so I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. So it's culture, it's the presence of weapons.
Yeah.
There's lots of factors that go into it, but so that makes it even harder to solve,
Right.
I think. Okay, and on that note, that is all for the review of Unit 8 Subway Shooting. We will see you in the next video.